No peace can be made between leaders alone. No peace can exist only on paper. And as you well know, peace has to ultimately reside in the heart of those who are making peace, and has to appeal to the dreams of the people who in fact are subject of the negotiation relating to peace. The second point that I'd respectfully make is that a successful process, successful outcome in every engagement I've been involved in has required groups like yours. I'm not being solicitous. I mean it literally. People like all of you who contribute your ideas, your efforts to build the support, to get buy-in, one person at a time. I've had many discussions in the last 2 days, and I've never seen a peace that lasts where it has not been taken to the people first and explained. I've never seen a circumstance where it has lasted, where it has been agreed to by the leadership and then debated at people's dinner tables and kitchen tables. It occurs that debate has to take place before the final resolution. And you and people like you all around the world, and thank God there are people like you all around the world, understand it, because you understand the fears and concerns of ordinary people. You understand how the proposals that are being discussed will affect individual lives. We talk about this collectively, but it's never a collection of people. It's a collection of individuals who have individual wants, fears, concerns, and needs, and you understand their hopes and aspirations even better than elected leaders like me understand that. You understand the practical realities for it. You understand the practical impact of any agreement as proposed, whether here or anywhere else in the world. And, my experience has been, being elected a number of times in the United States, is that you have to make, the average people in every country are a lot brighter than their leaders give them credit for, in every country. They're more informed in their instincts. Their instincts are better. And the problem is that we have to speak to them in plain language, not in sound bites, not in the way we so-called diplomats speak to one another. And it has to be understandable. And toward that reality, the practical reality of explaining to people and understanding what they need and want, you are the single best salesperson that can exist in any country. And it's not a hyperbole to suggest that your contributions are absolutely, undeniably essential. Absolutely essential. You can help make sure that any deal that is reached is something people can buy into because they understand it. They understand it and how it will affect their daily lives. For example, I applaud the business leaders in the Greek and Turkish Cypriot Chambers of Commerce for jointly producing a video entitled What If? The possibilities are staggering for this island. Staggering. That weren't there even 40 years ago, those possibilities. The possibilities today are staggering. The impact this island united, once again, can have on the region is beyond, as they say in the vernacular back in the United States, you can punch way above your weight. You know what I mean by that? You can punch way above your weight. But that's real. One thing I do know a lot about is geopolitics. You can punch way above your weight. And my sense is that everyone wonders why when I go to these meetings with elected officials, I always end up going into the kitchen. For real. Any of you, and two were here with me, I go into the kitchen to meet the people who are serving the meal, to meet the people who are arranging the chairs. They're the people whose hearts and hopes have to buy in. And you know them better than anyone else knows them. And using experts in everyday Cypriots is the way to make the basic economic case to people. You can get the chairman of the board on, and it doesn't go very far. Get the guy or the woman who works in the shop, works in the business, talking about it. People understand. People understand. This will help change the notion that the cost of peace are higher than the benefits. That is simply not true. The costs are real. Everyone will have to make some significant concessions. And you all know that. You all know that. But the benefits far outweigh the cost. And before you can ask someone to make a sacrifice, you have to be able to explain to them why. Why it is good for their families and for them to make that sacrifice. And they are smart enough to know whether or not they should. The third suggestion I'd make is peace requires, what you know better than any group of people on this island, requires building trust. And trust is simple and complicated. I get criticized because I have now traveled, I don't get criticized for the travel, I've now traveled 900,000 miles meeting with foreign leaders just since I've been vice president. And there was a very famous American politician, a beloved politician, beloved by both parties, like Ronald Reagan was, even though I disagreed with him, and there was a fellow named Speaker O'Neill, the leading member of the United States Congress, Tip O'Neill. And he made famous the phrase, all politics is local. All politics is local. And I am old enough now to presume to try to improve on it. All politics is personal. It's personal in the sense that you don't have to agree, but you have to trust that the person with whom you're dealing means what they say, even if you disagree. That they mean what they say, and they will do what they say. And it is an incredibly difficult thing to establish, but when it's established, it's the only thing that accommodates people being willing to make sacrifice. There's a poet named James Joyce, an Irishman, who wrote the following phrase. He said, "Too long suffering makes a stone of the heart." Too long suffering makes a stone of the heart. 40 years. 40 years is a long, long time. And for a lot of people, on both sides, for a lot of people, their hearts have turned. You've got to reach them somehow. You've got to reach them. And even if it's only a minority within, a minority on either side, it makes a difference. My observation has been that when trying to work out a difficult arrangement relative to governance, that it very easily degenerates into the lowest common denominator. Those with the loudest voice, those with the most extreme positions, those who are most ready to demagogue on either side, are easily able to steal the march. It's much easier for me to remind you of the pain than it is to paint a picture of the hope. It's just easy to do. It's human nature. You're the only antidote to that. Your leaders are important, but you're the only antidote to that. And when people see you taking a chance, you demonstrating courage, you know, it's one of the things as I go around the country, around the world, and people, we tend to be in America viewed by the rest of the world as their major problem and their only solution. I find it somewhat fascinating. We're the cause of the problem, but we're the only solution. And it's easy, people look, and they look at you, I suspect, because you're successful, bright, well-educated people. And I can't imagine, you can look at it and say, how would you understand? What do you know? How can you understand what my problem is? And I think that, it's the building of trust is difficult, but it's absolutely essential for the families across this island to be able to make the kind of sacrifices that everyone's going to have to make some. Everyone's going to make some. And when they see you taking a chance, when they see you members of parliament taking a chance and taking on the popular wisdom of your constituency, that's when they say, all right, this is for real. It's a hell of a burden to thrust on you, but it is the truth. It is the truth. When you speak truth to power, it's uncomfortable. And so, it's going to take time, but groups like yours can steadily build trust through the dialogue founded on the principles of mutual respect and openness. For example, the bi-communal initiative dreamed up by a civic society grew into a powerful experience when 5,000, mostly Greek Cypriots, crossed the line to attend Good Friday Mass in the medieval Old City. Granted, not all the participants in that shared the same enthusiasm, but it's the first time in my career, and I've been a United States Senator since the island's been divided, first time I remember something that consequential. Didn't matter. First time in 57 years that Good Friday Mass was celebrated in the 14th century church. And it was done with the support of Turkish Cypriot political and religious leaders. But you know better than I, more needs to be done. And think about what happened last fall when a group of you from the business and politics and civil society, nothing like experience what the other guy's gone through, to give you some insight. I spent a lot of time in South Africa during apartheid. As a matter of fact, I was arrested as a United States Senator and detained is the appropriate word. I have spent a lot of time in Bosnia-Herzegovina. I spent a lot of time in Iraq. I spent a lot of time in Colombia, in El Salvador. And when you sit down with others who have solved, or at least partially solved, the very kind of dilemma you're facing, because at its root, this is all just basic human nature. There was an essayist in America in the 1860s. His name was Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, society's like a wave. The wave moves on, but the particles remain the same. God ain't made a new brand of man in a millennia. Human nature is human nature. Culture is different. Human nature. Fears, aspirations. I'll yield to my psychiatrist friend I've just met here, but it doesn't take a lot of difference psychoanalyzing someone in northern Cyprus and someone in Wilmington, Delaware, in the United States. Human nature is human nature. And although a lot more has to be done, I hope you got some sense of both the difficulty, the urgency, and the possibility of being able to move beyond where we've moved over the last 40 years. I don't know how many times I have greeted Turkish Cypriot and Greek Cypriot leaders in the United States as the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. I don't know how many times there have been initiatives to get a peace agreement. I don't know how many times. But the truth is, things have changed. Things have changed. In one sense, in another sense, they haven't changed at all. The hurt and pain hasn't changed. But the opportunity has changed. Because again, people make rational judgments. Ask me to sacrifice, tell me what it's for. Tell me what will happen after I make this sacrifice. Will it benefit my family? Will it benefit my neighbors? Will it benefit me? You can't answer that question. You can't ask for the sacrifice. And that's the gigantic thing that's changed in the recent past. And so, people may be full of doubt, and they may have been full of doubt when you arrived in Malta. But I hope most of you who were there came away and said they were glad that they stayed. And soon, I've been told, many of you found they had common ideas in the people you met with. Common goals, common aspirations. And now they've created a new avenue for dialogue between Greek and Turkish Cypriot communities. And that can find and define areas of common interest in a way that hasn't been done, in my view, in the past. And I'm pleased to announce that this year the United States is ready to provide additional assistance, financial assistance as well, and support initiatives to build confidence measures between the two communities to help them prepare for a solution. I'll conclude where I began, and that is that the future, any future deal, does obviously have to come from the Cypriot people themselves. As I said in meeting with the two leaders of the communities, we can't want, the United States can't want resolution more than you do. It doesn't work. I'm very flattered that a number of you said, we're counting on you. Your being here will change. Well, in all truth, I don't want to disabuse you, but that's probably not true. We can, at certain moments, be helpful. We can intervene with both the Greek and Cypriot leadership on the island, but also with the Turkish leadership in Turkey, with the Greek leadership in Greece. We can do that, and we will, and we have. But folks, the United States, for as bad and good as we are, we don't have the capacity. We don't have the capacity to be able to settle the problems we have, any more than we did with all the incredible Herculean efforts that John Kerry took between the Palestinians and Israelis. You've got to want it more than we want it. We want it for humanitarian reasons. We also want it for selfish reasons, because of the ability of this small island to play such an outsized role in changing the environment in the region. It's a dangerous world. You're an incredibly well-educated, noble people. You're situated in a physical spot where you can have profound impact. And so we want to see you show the courage and leadership to pursue a settlement of the bi-zonal, bi-communal federations. And we're confident that you want to. And finally, peace is always possible. It's always possible. I have a very close friend, and by the way, maybe the reason you say, well, what would this guy from the States understand anything about our problems? I'm Irish. I understand. I'm Irish. You think I'm joking? I'm not. I was raised in a family where my great-grandfather, who was a state senator in the state of Pennsylvania, we found when my mother died, I found all these poems he'd written. And one of the poems was called My Mother's Land of Room. And it went on, the opening line said, oh, how I learned to hate the British at my mother's knee. Oh, how they bled sweet Ireland dry until me. It's not new to you. It's not new to you. It was 400 years in the case of the Irish. There were laws passed by the Brits saying no Irishman could read, write, or own property, or they would go to prison unless they changed their religion and renounced Catholicism. The point I'm making is this. After all the pain over all those years, a great friend of mine, and a wonderful man, who happens to be Lebanese Christian by descent, George Mitchell, Senator Mitchell. And he was heading the Irish Accords, and he had a great line on the day there was finally the Accord signed in the North. He said, 700 days of failure was followed by one day of success. 700 days of failure is followed by 1 day of success. 1 day of success is out there. There's an inevitability to it. The question is, how much more pain? How much more discontent? How much more wasted opportunity before all of your leaders arrive at the realization that big decisions have to be made. And you're the ones that can do it. There is no way to resolve a crisis like this, again, as I said where I began, without having the people understand with granularity what it is they're going to be asked to sign on to. That's why there has to be discussion. There has to be more openness and some confidence building measures about what this is about, so people can chew on it. They can roll it around on their tongue. They can feel it in their fingertips and decide at their dinner table, talking to their mother, their father, their children, is this worth it? You know it's worth it, or you wouldn't be taking the risk you're taking. On behalf of President Obama and myself and the American people, thank you for having the perseverance and the courage, and I say courage not lightly, for being willing to take on such a task of trying to pull us all together. You're the best hope. You're the best hope that exists on the island.